where we are convening these kinds of activities around the state. When this governor came out and said, we want you to, all of us, to be involved in workforce development and figure out ways to do it, we see a lot of space we could play in that. And one of those, if you think about the history of extension, is that we were very involved in helping farmers go back in the day, still do this, get better skills, which is workforce development to do better on the farm, right? That's workforce development. It doesn't matter what area you're in. Well, now we do that in small businesses. We're involved in all kinds of enterprises, manufacturing, you name it. We're involved in partnering with various groups to do that. So it really fits well that we would be a part of this convening today here in Ashland to bring this to you, as we have done now in a couple other sites. And Rob Russell, who's with us today, our director of this particular area within the MU Extension. Rob, stand up. I want you to stand. Rob's in the back. Let's give Rob a hand. He's one to keep people. We're really excited to be a part of trying to do this because we believe, as we have learned from Missourians, that there are really three basic issues. I've been with the University of Missouri now for a little over 5 years, and as you can tell, I'm not from around here probably, but I came from North Carolina. But I will tell you, it's been the most affirming and invigorating time of my career to be here, to be a part of the university, to be a part of this great institution as we think about how we really serve Missourians to live out our land grant mission. And what we found is when we did a study of the state, that there were really three key issues. And we did that in 2016, 2017. And there were three things that really stood out. One was that we really needed to double down on our ability to work with people economically. How do you grow their businesses? How do you help them do better? Workforce development being a part of that. We also saw the whole area of education. How do we strengthen education? What can we do to really bolster that, to make education all that it can be for all children, all adults, so that we have access to education, whether it be through the university, through partnerships like with Ranken or anybody else we may be working with. How do we do that? And the third thing we found was health. That, when you think about not only rural health, but health in general, how can we move those indicators up so that the university becomes a platform for doing that? And so those are the three things that when you think about extension today, is we reset our plan to really work across those platforms, whether it be in agriculture economically, or be in youth development, the 4-H things we're known for, or whether it be working with across the colleges, the universities, to bring those things to people. That is what we're about today. So today, if you think about that bigger picture, we're going to zero down on workforce development with our partners here at Ranken and others. I do want to say, again, I'll introduce him in a few moments with Fred Perry. I know he's here. Fred's been a big part of this, and thank you. Fred actually served on the MU Extension Council when he was commissioner here in Boone County, a great supporter of ours as well. So just lots of connections, lots of opportunities to think about these things as we think about what we can do. We've been involved in extension, not only in this workforce area, but in health and education, but also thinking about what connects all those things. And again, I know the guy I'm getting ready to introduce has been really involved in broadband, because broadband is a connector. You get broadband, you can have great healthcare, you can have great economic growth, you can have educational access. And so that's a connector that, again, we've aligned our work to work with this governor, this administration, legislators, and others. I know Sarah's here today. Sarah, good to see you here. Not only, I should say Representative Walsh, I know her too well, I guess, but Representative, good to see you here. And I appreciate your leadership, because we've been able to work so well with so many people to do those kind of things, to lift all those pieces up. But if we get broadband, then all these other pieces move forward. So again, lots of energy, lots of things going on as we think about homegrown solutions. And that's one of the things I'm excited about with this is community here coming together, figuring it out. We're a convener, we're a partner, but it's going to be because you decide what you need to do here. It's not for me to put it on you. It's for you to decide, and then we partner with you to get where you want to go. And we're excited with the university to be doing those things here in Central Missouri. And so again, it's just a pleasure to be the convener, to kick this thing off today, to be a part of this. And it is now my pleasure to introduce someone that is no stranger to me or to you. When I arrived in Missouri, I think back 2016, there was a lot going on. And biggest thing in August of 2016 was there was a lot of campaigns going on. And I didn't know anybody because I hadn't been here. So the first time I ever saw this next person I'll introduce to you was on a commercial. And saw him running. I said, well, he looks like a pretty good fella. I think it might be okay there. So we saw that. And then I learned later, when he got elected as lieutenant governor at the time, that he had won, I think it was 110 of 114 counties. Is that about right, Governor? Oh my gosh. I don't want to be misquoted, but I think that's right. And I thought, well, it's going to be okay. And then as things progressed, to see him assume that leadership role as governor, I told him this. I was actually at the Delta Center. He may not remember this, but I was at the Delta Research Center, which is in far southeast Missouri, Boot Hill, Missouri. And he had just become governor, and already you could see the things he was doing. And one of the things I told him was that I really felt like he was becoming this great convener, bringing the family in Missouri back together to really focus on healing this state in good ways. And I've seen him do that. And regardless of politics aside, I appreciate the fact that he is Missouri. He's pure Missourian. You know, I'm adopted son. That's all I'll ever be. I get it. That's okay. But he's pure Missouri. So let me just say a couple of things. Great veteran service. Many of you know, had a great 22-year career in law enforcement, serving 12 years as sheriff in Polk County, obviously in the Missouri House, also the Senate. Great distinguished career in public service. He and First Lady Teresa obviously have their home in Bolivar, Missouri. Again, raised on a farm in Hickory County, graduated from Wheatland High School, small business owner, and still has a cow-calf operation there. Tremendous passion for this state and all that it is and all things that are Missouri. And so it is my pleasure to introduce to you the 57th governor of the state of Missouri, Mike Parson.
I just want you to tell you this, don't worry about that accent. It's just down the Boot Hill, you fit right in. just so you know on that. Well, good morning to everybody. What an exciting time to be here in Missouri, and a lot of things going on the positive side that's going on here in state government. Gosh, when you start talking about when I first ran for office, it brought back old memories too. And then, you know, the thought of me becoming governor, the way it become governor. And then not only that, I ran for office for the governor. There's sometimes me and Teresa both sat back and said, what were we thinking? Going through what we've been through. But I tell you, when I first become governor, you know, you have a tremendous opportunity to make a difference in people's lives. You really do. The governors can do a lot of things in a lot of different categories. And I decided from day one, my staff, with everything that was going on in the state of Missouri, what was the one thing that I could really focus on, that I could really feel like changes the needle, not for just me and you that are here today, but for the next generations. And it really come down to two things. It come down to workforce development and infrastructure. If you got those two things right, everything feeds off of that. Everything does. And you really think about it. If you think about where you live because of infrastructure. You want to live in a special neighborhood. You want to live in your neighborhood. You want to have a good highway system. You want to have internet. We talk about internet for the first time in our state's history with the help of Representative Waltz. And who I might want to say to Sarah, you deserve a huge thanks for getting $1.4 million in the budget to move our state forward. I personally want to thank you. Forward. It's why we're going to make investments in infrastructure. It's why we're going to make investments in broadband. This year, we're making a proposal to spend $400 million on broadband in the state of Missouri. Never has that been done before, that we're going to do that. That's how important that is. Because if you cannot compete, no matter where you live, whether you're in a very rural area of the state or whether you live in the urban areas, we've got to make the playing field even to move our state forward. And when you talk about the infrastructure, whether it's the rivers, whether it's the airports, whether it's the highway systems, the rail systems in the state of Missouri, there's one thing Missouri has that no other state has. One thing. And for all of you that have been in business before, you know, that are here, what is the most three important things about putting in a new business? It's called location, location, location. Missouri is in prime real estate in the United States of America. And we are now taking advantage of that, of what we're doing. We're taking advantage of that by partnering with Ranken. I see a lot of the shirts over there today, the Ranken Institution, one of the first places I visited when I became governor. And I thought to myself, this is the model. This is the model. Whether it's the tech colleges, whether it's community colleges, whether it's certificates, whether it's training, or whether it's the four-year universities, whether it's the Missouri Extension, that I'm a big fan of what they do every day. But the question becomes, is how do you bring all those people together, and how do you all have the same vision? And that's why we're here today. that we're going to be expanding the workforce of tomorrow. And we're going to give young men and women the opportunity to realize what that is. The first thing, when we started this whole process, you have to figure out what you do right. And you got to be honest with yourself about what you do wrong. Those are the first two things you got to do. And I would say that no matter if you're in business, no matter you're running an institution, no matter what's the education systems in this state, you have to have a reality talk with yourself to say, what do we do right? What do we do wrong? And how do we need to change? So the first thing you have to do is why this is so important to me to be here in Ashland today, is you have to realize that the vast majority of kids are not going to be four-year graduates of a university. That's the way the state of Missouri is. Now, don't get me wrong, I say, oh, governor's up there telling everybody not to go to college. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying we need doctors, we need engineers, we need architects, we need the healthcare institution as a whole. But there's going to be a vast majority of young men and women that's not going to go to college. But they are going to make up the workforce of tomorrow, whether that's IT, whether that's healthcare, whether that's construction work, whether that's cybersecurity. You can almost name it what the professions will be, but they are going to have some sort of training. It has to start, in my opinion, it has to start in your K through 12 schools. You have to figure out a solution to get those kids the right frame of mind to know they've got to go into the workforce and what those opportunities are. There was last week we're in Columbia at an event for high school kids. And I remember there's this African-American young lady there. And I asked her how she liked the day. And it was all about teaching all the trades to all the kids. And I said, what was your favorite part today? She said, welding. And it just caught me off guard. And I said, welding? I said, I didn't see you for a welder or something like that. I never had been exposed to it before. I never had been around it before. She said it was the most fun thing I ever done was that. And I thought, to see that kid's eyes light up like, this is a new experience. That's why we're here today, is to give those kids the opportunity to do that. And right here in central Missouri. So as you know, education starts where? Early childhood development. If you cannot get a kid in a classroom setting, you're kidding yourselves if you're going to move forward. And when I became governor, I also went to St. Louis, Kansas City, some of the areas that probably are a little less unfortunate than most of us sitting in this room. But I tell you what, if we don't figure out a way to get a kid in a classroom, and I don't care whether that's public, private, Christian, you name it, you got to get them in a classroom, they got to get an education. If you keep doing the same old thing we've been doing decade after decade, we're going to get the same issues that we're facing in this state. But you got to figure out a way to get a kid an education, basic education. Then you got to teach them what it's like in the workforce. That's why we did the work ready, certified work ready communities. All of those are getting kids ready for the workforce of tomorrow. We now have that in 102, 115 counties in the state of Missouri. 102 counties have signed on to get those kids prepared for that. I think when you look at the technical school and the career center visits that we've made, and you see what's really going on out there. In North Kansas City, you see an airplane at a high school setting in a room where they're learning aerospace, how to work on an airplane, how it flies, all the things like that, things that you never even dreamed you'd have probably when some of us went to school to have those kind of opportunities in the aerospace industry. And then I think when you look at technical schools and career centers, what all they do, Missouri excels. And there's one I want to mention to you called Fast Track. And it was a little bit controversial when I first done this as governor, trying to get it through the legislative body. But really what it did is it targeted people 25 years and older, which I think this will be part of that education process too. Because you all know the drill. There's somebody that went to school, went to high school, they maybe started college, or maybe they didn't, but they just went into the workforce, or they started a family, or they just decided, you know, I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do at 21 and 22 and 23. 25, most people start settling down a little bit. We did fast tracks, which we give everybody an opportunity to go back and get an education, go back and get a training, to be able to use that if you want to up your skills that we're in the workforce on high demand jobs. So anytime you start a new government program, you wonder how that's going to work out. So we just get the thing up and running, and then COVID-19 hits, and that kind of throws everything upside down. But that program, and I want to say to the universities, to the community colleges, the training centers, they kept pushing that, and they kept working through that. So I want to tell you the good news about Fast Track, that you remember this. And I want you to encourage people to use it. You might know in your own communities and stuff. 80% of the people that use Fast Track were women. 80%. How about that, ladies? 80% was used that. The vast majority of the people that went into fast track went into the healthcare system of our state. And if that wasn't a blessing in disguise when all this stuff was going on, it wasn't because of COVID. It's just that was the arena it was going. And what a great opportunity that was. So that's another program that I was really happy with. You know, you heard me talk about broadband, but now, all right, I want to brag a little bit. Can you imagine a politician wanting to brag a little bit? But I don't want to brag about me. I want to brag about you. I want to brag about the university. I want to brag about Sarah. I want to brag about all the people that accept the vision that we had when we talk about workforce development infrastructure. So what does that really mean at the end of the day? How do we compare to the rest of the United States, the world goes? So I want you to go for a little journey with me. Just be a little patient with me, but I want to read some data to you. And I want to explain to you how important this was to me, that what we're doing this day. First of all, let me say today, as of last week, our unemployment rate hit 3.8 in the state of Missouri, 3.8. To give you an idea where that lands, pre-pandemic, it was at 3.7. That's because we're on the right track. We're getting people back to work, and we need to get more people back to work. Don't get me wrong. We still got a lot of job openings out there in the state. We got to get work. But those are good numbers that we're seeing. We are now first in the United States of America for on-the-job training participants. All the things we're talking about, workforce development, number one in the United States. I hold your applause for a bit. This could be late. We are second in the United States for small business wage growth in the state of Missouri. We are third in the United States for apprenticeship programs, the things we are here today for. We are third in the United States for apprenticeships. Remember that. We are third in the United States for business tax index. If you look at all the states surrounding us, we have the lowest business tax rate in the state of Missouri. Why is that important? That's why you're seeing Columbia, Missouri, which is why you're seeing all the people across the state of Missouri. We're expanding businesses all over the state every day to the tune of almost $2 billion. In the middle of COVID, we were expanding businesses all across the state. We're fourth in the United States for opportunities. We're fourth in the United States for new manufacturing facilities. And if you just remember all the things that are growing in this area of the state, a lot of it has to do with manufacturing, but we're fourth in the United States. We're fourth in the United States for best places to retire. People are wanting to come to Missouri. We've seen that full force over the last 20 months. A lot of people want to get out of a lot of the other parts of the country coming to Missouri. You know, we're fifth in the United States for low cost of doing business. We're seventh in the United States for people relocating to our state. I have to be honest with you, sometimes I like to pick and choose who those people are. But the idea is they're coming to Missouri, and I like for them to come to Missouri on that. And one of the other ones I'm really proud of, we are seventh in the United States for tech manufacturing growth in the state of Missouri, which when you compile all of those things together, that's the first half, what I just read you. Be ready for the second half. We're eighth in the United States for housing affordability in this state. We're eighth in the United States for economic recovery. We are eighth in the United States for best places for nurses to work. We're ninth in the United States for military retirees. And we are 10th in the United States for automobile and aerospace industries. Now, how many times have you read all of those statistics? They've been exposed to that. Those are the things that we need to be talking about in our state. We talk about a lot of negative things that are out there, a lot of things go on, but I'm telling you, Missouri's on the right track. We're doing the right things. And let me just finish with one of the things I'm so proud of. We're 10th in the United States for site selections. And what that means is people all over this country are now taking a look at Missouri, saying, I want to bring my businesses here. I want to be able to operate in a friendly business environment. I want to put good people to work. I want to have good jobs. It lines up with everything else we're doing in those top 10 categories. But it all started with workforce development and infrastructure. Nobody's coming to the state if they don't feel like we got people here to work. And if you're not training them to work, they all look at that. They see what you're doing for the workforce of tomorrow. That's how important why we're here today is, and why when you look at the high schools are now teaming up with the universities, high schools are now teaming up with the technical schools, you know, all over the state, you're seeing that go, and it's working, it's working. We now send staff and cabinet members. In my cabinet, we probably right now, there's 6 or 7 national presidents that Missouri gets to go out there on center stage and talk about the things we're doing here, right? So if we all work together, we put politics to the side, because infrastructure and workforce development has nothing to do with it. Stay the course. Stay the course. We're heading in the right direction. Why I come here today? Why I'm proud of what we're doing. I'm proud of all of you that are in this room today because you care, or you wouldn't be here. And that means a great deal to me. It is an honor and privilege to be the 57th governor of the great state of Missouri. God bless. Thank you for having me here. Thank you.
Let's give the governor another round of applause. Wonderful. You know, he's right that there's so many good things to think about in this state and things that are progressing in the right direction. It's easy to look at what we don't have, but he certainly made the case for what we do have. One of the things we do have is youth, and I want you to really, again, focus on what you're going to be able to do over the next couple hours as you work together, as you think about where you want to be, where this area could be, and what can be in this area of Ashland, Missouri. As we think about the benefits of this project, again, I would reconnect you with the idea that in MU Extension, we simply are convener. We obviously bring the technology, the information, we can always apply that in these cases, but we only want to do that as it makes sense to your area. When you think about one of these being held in the Springfield area, I think Houston, Missouri was another area we had them in. Those are different areas, and what might be needed there, what might be the assets there that make the workforce grow there are going to be different than what you're going to find here. So again, it's about thinking about your local economy, what you want to be, the brand you want to be, how you want to build that out. And certainly we're excited to be partners with Ranken and this part of Boone County and all the civic leaders and your businesses as you think about what you want to be in the future. It's my pleasure to introduce someone else who is a friend, someone that I've gotten to know over the time that I've been here in University of Missouri, Fred Perry, obviously well-known public servant, business leader. He's the founder of the Inside Columbia magazine, former commissioner here in the Southern District, now heads up Perry and Associates, a consulting business development group that specializes in rural health and economic development initiatives, which certainly fits well with what we're doing today. While he was a commissioner here in Boone County, he helped secure the first $100,000 gift for the Ranken project and continues to serve as a member of the executive committee. I know Fred, not necessarily with this project, but again, just knowing him as a member of, through his service of the commissioners, being a part of the MU Extension Council, and certainly writing some really good stuff for us, Fred, from time to time. One of the things that happened when I was in my office one day, and somebody said, "You got to read this." And I barely knew Fred at the time, but he had written this wonderful, wonderful editorial in his publication about the need to continue to support MU Extension. So he immediately became my friend. I mean, if you're all about that, I'm all about that too. So again, without further ado, I give you Fred Perry.
Thank you, Marshall. It is indeed a pleasure to have the support of MU Extension. I think that, like a lot of you in this room, I grew up with Extension. I grew up in Clay County, Missouri, in Liberty, and on the town square was the MU Extension office. And we didn't do much in our community that did not involve Extension. And so it is nice to see the resurgence of MU Extension in our state. We stole a great leader from North Carolina 5 years ago, and being able to get someone like Marshall Stewart, who is in charge of engagement for the university, that's part of his long title, but to have Marshall go out and represent the university, to represent Extension, represent the state of Missouri in every corner of the state, and he's got some great stories about some of his discoveries in rural Missouri. But Marshall, thank you for your dedication and the many things you bring to Missouri. Thank you very much. This is another great day for the city of Ashland, and we are very blessed. I want to just tell you, for our folks that are joining us around the state online through the live webcast, I want to tell you a few things about the community that we are broadcasting live from today. We are very proud of the fact that we had almost a 55% increase in population from the 2010 census to the 2020 census. So this is a community that is growing and growing big. Right now in Ashland, a very positive economic indicator is that there are almost 700 homes that are platted and under construction. And this is in a city of 5,000 people. To have almost 700 homes platted and planned for construction is a very positive sign. Our local population has been very supportive of our wonderful school district, and our school district is one of the reasons that people are packing up from larger cities and moving to Ashland. And I know there's good things and bad things about that, but it's a very positive endorsement about the city of Ashland. A few years ago, the city invested $7 million in putting in a new sewer utility, so it is poised for growth. The city is annexed up to the local regional airport, and there are many positive things happening. We have East Ashland Plaza, which is almost completely sold out, and you start to see construction taking place over there. We have a new, Ashland must have the highest per capita number of roundabouts in any city in the world. I lost count, but I think we're somewhere around 7 in this small town, but they have definitely embraced the roundabout. That is not true for other communities. If you've driven through a roundabout in Columbia recently, we're still taking a while to get used to those. Main Street USA, we have received a grant to beautify our downtown area, the Main Street that runs through Ashland. That's a big deal. MoDOT is making a very big investment up here at the corner of Main and Henry Clay and Broadway. Of course, you know, Ranken Technical College is building a new campus here in Ashland, so we can celebrate that. The Missouri Baptist Home has recently opened, and they are a fast-growing entity providing housing for seniors, but it's going to be a beautiful complex that's currently underway. The Lakeside Ashland development, and though it is somewhat controversial to people who do not live in Ashland, it is going to be a wonderful recreational offering for this community. The Cartwright Technology Park is underway, and there's big news coming very soon about that development. And of course, next summer we'll be cutting the ribbon, opening the brand new Columbia Regional Airport, which is also located in Ashland, sort of. But anyway, it's there are so many good things. As a community, please give yourself a round of applause for the amazing things happening. Before we get to our first speaker, I just want to say a few things. We can't say it enough. Thank you, Sarah Walsh, for the good work that you have done on behalf of the people of your district, District 50, and for securing this wonderful matching grant from the state of Missouri. Thank you once again. So the building that we're in today, I think, is a great symbol of what is happening in this community. This is something that started as a dream for some folks here in Ashland to build a YMCA. It was a typical grassroots campaign. It started with a dream, and then they went through the painstaking process. And I know there's some folks in this room that were a very active part of that. The painstaking process of raising millions of dollars to make this come together. Collaboration, commitment, and a steadfast pursuit of their dream is the reason that they were able to cut the ribbon on this building just a few years ago. And I hope that you have a chance to walk through the other part of the building, because it is a first-class facility that is really dedicated to the health of this community. And so, but the way that the folks got together and dreamed about building a YMCA community is the same way that the Ranken Technology Campus in Ashland got its start. It started as a dream, and then an endless pursuit of some people in St. Louis, and then endless pursuit of finding partners who recognize the shortage that we had in workforce development in our community. And so we are, this is part of a dream that is coming true here in Ashland. You're gonna hear a lot about it today. I also wanna say a few thank yous. When I say, I see Corey Myers is here. Corey and Larkin Powers, is Larkin here today by any chance? Okay, and Greg DeLine. All three played a very special role in donating our first piece of property that we will be able to expand on. So thank you, Corey. Great to see you. So I want to talk a little bit about what we're doing, and then we're going to have somebody answer that phone. We're going to have 2 panel discussions, and we're going to try to get you out of here around lunch. Lunch is going to be served courtesy of Bell Bank and Bill Lloyd, who represents Bell Bank in this area. Bill, thank you very much for your generosity in providing lunch. Bell Bank, they don't have a drive-through right now because it is a bank for banks, right, Bill? That's what you describe it. And so they may not have a physical presence here in Ashland, but they are certainly part of the wonderful things that are happening here through Bill Lloyd. And then we'll have 2 panel discussions and then we will dismiss you. So I want to encourage you to check out the architectural renderings that have been provided of the proposed Ranken school. Some of the things on the floor plan are likely to change as we get closer and closer to building this building, but please come up and take a look at that and so that you see what we have going. Our first speaker this morning is the superintendent of Southern Boone County R1 schools. Christopher Filmley has been the superintendent here for the last 9 years. He served 6 years as superintendent at Van Far and 2 years with the Ludi School District. Before serving as superintendent, he worked as an elementary principal. He taught kindergarten and 2nd grade, and he started his educational career with the Springfield Public School District as a Title I instructional aide for a year. Please welcome Ashland, Southern Boone County Superintendent of Schools, Christopher Filmley.
Folks, good morning. Everyone, thank you for your time today, and especially the MU Extension Center and helping us to put on this Workforce Development Summit. Adult education has always been a major priority throughout my career. I had the pleasure of working with the Van Far School District several years ago. Van Far had an adult education program in the community, but they also had one in the Missouri Department of Corrections, the Women's Eastern Reception Facility in Vandalia. I would regularly visit both of the schools and work very closely with the adult education teachers. These programs provided learning opportunities for adults who needed education the most. My children loved to loudly tease me, especially at Walmart, by saying, "Hey, Daddy, are you going back to prison today?" I can honestly tell you that I have been in and out of prison more times than I can even count, and I still only have a single-page FBI background. Honestly, I'm really proud of the work that we completed with our adult education classes during my tenure at Van Far. I truly enjoyed the graduation ceremonies at the women's prison. I often found myself holding back tears of joy because I knew that my team of teachers had changed these students' lives forever. For the first time in their life, these students felt proud about themselves and realized a path of success for their future and for their children. These adult education programs literally broke cycles of generational poverty and opened up the door for opportunities to career paths that otherwise would not have been possible. Education brought these adults hope, financial stability, but most of all, dignity. The partnership with the Ranken Technical College is important to me for several reasons. There is a critical need for skilled employees within our local industries and businesses right here in mid-Missouri. The traditional high school curriculum needs to change to provide graduates direct access to great paying careers and financial success. I truly dream of the day when our high school curriculum is aligned to careers for all students. And I feel as a society, we need to revolutionize education to align student interests to career paths. And I believe the partnership with Ranken takes Southern Boone School District another step closer to that goal. With the Ranken Technical College partnership, interested high school students will have the opportunity to enroll in college classes while continuing to attend high school. These students will be able to utilize their A+ scholarship after high school graduation to continue to take classes and complete degree aspirations for 2 years with minimum cost to the student. Our Southern Boone High School students will be able to earn an associate's degree, if not a bachelor's degree, within 2 years in the area of their chosen study after high school. This opportunity is available for the surrounding school districts as well, and not just Southern Boone. We will be able to provide high school instruction to students in Columbia, Jeff City, throughout the county, as well as into Fulton. The Ranken curriculum is uniquely different from other trade colleges. Ranken requires students to complete 2,000 hours of paid work with industry partners. These hours are built into the curriculum so that the student can apply what they've learned in the classroom while learning on the job by doing the job. Students gain firsthand experience while being mentored throughout the program of studies. These experiences offer our local industry partners the opportunity to build relationships with potential employees and make sure that they will be a great fit in the culture of their business. Time and time again, business and industry require employees to become lifelong learners as technology and business needs evolve. Students can return to our campus and complete additional certifications and advanced degrees. Our Ranken campus will enable both adult students and our high school students opportunities for life. I'm truly excited about the future for Southern Boone School District and the partnership with the Ranken Technical College. So how did we manage to foster a relationship with the technical college? Over the past several years, I've noticed a major decrease in our students taking vocational classes. I realized that my students would rather take dual credit classes rather than leave campus to take classes at the Career Center. When they do so, they had to leave campus, so they would actually lose school credits and time due to the travel to the Career Center. As a result of the district's rapid growth, I had the pleasure of working with several large construction companies. When we would meet with the firm's administration, I was eager to learn about their needs and potentially how the school district can assist them with labor. And I realized quickly that my students weren't in a position to assist with this critical sector of business. My hope was to find a college who was willing to partner with the district and the community and establish a satellite campus. We could develop a pipeline of labor for well-paying, skilled careers for my high school students as well as adults in the region. After meeting with several colleges in the region, Ranken Technical College was very eager to partner with the school district. Don Pohl and I share a common vision for the campus here in Ashland. We developed a committee with the City of Ashland, Mid-Missouri Regional Planning, and our Southern Boone Economic Development and Southern Boone Chamber of Commerce. And before we knew it, we were submitting a grant to the Economic Development Administration, where we were awarded $4.5 million with the help of Representative Walsh, as well as Senator Rowden. The state of Missouri awarded our project an additional $1.5 million. We're currently in our fundraising mode, and we are just shy of our $3 million goal for construction costs. The district is currently working very closely with PWA architect Chris Davis. Thank you. As well as Septagon. Really proud to work with Jim and Nick with Septagon. They've been outstanding partners. We're in the design phase right now, as you can see, and just really excited to get this project up and running as quick as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, the point of today's meeting was hopefully to bring information, show you what Ashland has done with the district and the partnerships have done in hopes that other communities would replicate these kinds of opportunities. And so I'd like to just open it up to the floor real quick and see if you have any specific questions about the school district and our role with the Ranken partnership. I just wanted to give you the opportunity. So if you've got questions about it, please feel free to approach me and we can talk more about it. I've got a lot of pressure on me. I've got a tremendous amount of pressure on me with this project. My my son, who's with me today, Garrett, said, you know, Dad, every time you do a construction project with the district, I'm leaving that building. And he's right. He did at the primary and didn't get to play in that beautiful gym, and then went to elementary and didn't get to play in that beautiful gym either. And then classrooms and middle school were, you know, he's a freshman and he just graduated 8th grade, and here Dad's breaking dirt and adding on wonderful classrooms and additions to the middle school. So the pressure's on me because Garrett really wants to go into welding, and he is very excited to join the Ranken team. And so I got to get this building built. So please help me.
Asked Chris to stay up here for a few minutes because we do for the benefit of our audience around the state, we want to just ask a few questions. But Chris, I'm going to have you stand up. I'm going to pass the microphones so that they can capture it on the video and on the webcast. But what advice would you give superintendents, school board members, school leaders in other communities around the state about the type of collaboration that has to go into something like this? How do you make a determination about what types of skills are needed in the community? You want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. I would say partnership. You know, fostering the great relations with the city, with the different industries within the community, and just really learning and getting a pulse for what is needed in the community and what's dire, and then looking for partners to help you find out the solutions.
You are part of a community, as I recently described, that is growing very rapidly. It takes every bit of bonding capacity that you have to keep building new schools and expanding schools to accommodate the growth in this community. How do you convince school board members that setting aside money for something that really has not been part of their core mission, how do you sell that to school board members? How do you get them on board?
Truly, the partnership with the high school that Ranken is willing to foster and develop is huge. It's a great reflection on the community. It's a great reflection on the school district, and getting our younger students engaged in their career paths and fields of study. That's huge, and that's a great selling point for, you know, people wanting to move into the community and have their children be a part of our school district.
So you have been involved in public education for a long time. You were a kindergarten teacher, which everybody knows that's the easiest job in the world. But as you have seen learning styles evolve over the years, how is vocational education, why is that important right now? As you've seen the way that our kids learn in public schools, why is it important to be introducing vocational education at this time?
Sure. Well, beyond the need, you know, so much of life is about what's in your wallet. It is. And the relationships with Ranken, this is going to lead to great opportunities for my students, for the adult students in this region. And for them to be able to better themselves, to have an opportunity for a high-paying job, changes so much. It changes the family, it changes, brings more opportunity. That's what I see with the partnership with Ranken. That's what I see with technical college, is that our society has such great needs, and these are great jobs that pay more than a kindergarten teacher will ever see. And so why not? Why wouldn't you want that for your students or your school district? You know, that opportunity to really foster success with your students. That's the name of the game.
I'll give the audience one more chance to ask a question. If you want to yell it out, I'll repeat it. Any questions for the superintendent of schools before we move on? All right, one more time for Chris Filmley, superintendent. Okay, I am promising you that we'll have a seventh inning stretch after our next speaker. So if you can hold it, please hold it. And we will give you a chance to grab some refreshments and we'll take a 5-minute break. It's my pleasure now to introduce Jane Rutter, who is the Associate Vice President of the Steyer Group, a national fundraising and development firm out of Omaha, Nebraska. Steyer Group is out of Omaha, Nebraska, but Jane lives right here in southern Boone County. So she was very familiar with the community when we launched these endeavors. Steyer Group specializes in campaign planning studies and capital campaigns for nonprofit organizations across the country. Prior to working for the Steyer Group, Jane established the Office of Stewardship and Development for the Diocese of Jefferson City. She oversaw a $32 million campaign to raise capital for Tolton Catholic High School, which was recently built in Columbia, and overall diocesan efforts. Jane is the author of the book On the Spiritual Journey and the Self-Sustaining Nonprofit. The latter received the Missouri Excellence in Literature Award, and Jane also writes a monthly column continuing the spiritual journey. Please welcome to the podium, Jane Rutter.
It's a pleasure to be here. And I will tell you, I can't even see my slides. So we're going to wing it. How's that? Luke will help. But I think what I want to say, first of all, is that we've heard a lot of vision this morning. And actually, my job as campaign manager to raise $3 million for this campaign to get Ranken to go from vision to reality is less inspiring than it is practical. So I'm going to talk practicality a bit and just give you a little background on how I became involved with this. I was hired by the school district, and this team is, as you can see, there's a slide at the beginning that shows the partnership. Luke, do you have that?
Here we are.
You know what? We're going to do this. That's okay with, does that work? Okay. Then I can see what I'm doing. This great partnership between Ramon Ranken, the Mid-Missouri Regional Planning Commission, the school district, and the city of Ashland. So these are really the fostering groups for bringing Ranken to Ashland. We're very excited about that. So I was hired by accident. I was invited by my son, Corey Myers, to go to a meeting as a volunteer. And I'm in the community. So I said, of course I'll go. I'll talk about campaigns and whatever they'd like. The next thing I knew, I was hired to run the campaign. So I'm very excited about being a part of this. It's my community as well. So I have grandchildren in the school district, and hopefully they will be part of the Ranken experience here as well. When we look at the planning study, we started with the planning study in the fall of 2020. And what we found with that planning study, our goal was to interview as many people as we could to really bring industry into the picture and to look at what are the needs. So the number one thing for this is looking at client needs. And by client needs, what we found out, I still can't see it. We're good. What we found out is that 86 or 83% of our respondents realize there's a need for this project. There's a need for workforce development in this community. Now, we're not just talking about Ashland. We're talking about Central Missouri. We're talking about working with Boone, Cole, Cooper, Callaway, Howard, and Montauk counties. So we're really looking at what we're calling Central Missouri. And we want Central Missouri to be well aware of the benefits that we can provide them. There we are. Sarah, God bless you. Okay, so let's go on. Here's the total project cost. This is an $8.6 million campaign, which is pretty high for our area. But again, as you've heard from other speakers, when I came on board, that there's a much lower campaign goal. We see here we have 4.5 from EDA. Sarah, God bless her, got us another 1.5 through the legislature. We have the land donation, which is a very high cost here, and also private partnerships or public partnerships of 200,000. So since we started with that whole amount, we are now much lower than that. The campaign goal, as you can see on the next slide, I believe, is a $3 million goal. We'll keep going with that. That's fine, just keep going. Okay. So what we're finding with the campaign, then we're going to switch straight into that. With the campaign, what we know is that our number one thing is that we're looking at phases. Our campaign goes through different phases. We start with a prep phase, a silent phase, a public phase. And our whole goal here is to create the strategy. So in the prep phase, we're really creating materials. We're determining the goal. We're building the leadership teams. And you can go on. I think there's this slides on the campaign goal. Okay. So we want to create the donors, look at our donors. We want to look at, let's just go to the leadership page. If you
Okay.
would.
Sure.
Thank you. First of all, what I want to do is I want to thank our leaders who are here. So if you would stand up, all of our team. Now I know you're here. Everyone on our leadership team, Billy. These are the leaders who are making this possible. So we've got great leaders, and we actually have more on the next page. On the next 2 pages, you're going to see even more leadership continued. So we've got amazing people in our midst who are making this become a reality. There's one more leadership page here. There we go. Now, for those of you who have not seen it, we have a case statement booklet on the table here that you can pick up, that on the back shows our leadership, but it also gives you full information about everything we're doing to make this project a success. So when we look at the prep stage, it's getting our leadership defined. It's getting the donor evaluation. So we look at who we have in our midst, in our 6-county area and beyond, who can help us make this project become a reality, who believes in our vision as well. We also are looking at developing all the materials, making sure that we're getting the public relations we need out there among our media sources to make this viable, to make it known, to get people to understand the importance of workforce development. One of the things that I like to say is that, you know, when we look at making a campaign become a vision become a reality through a campaign, is that we can use the analogy of flying a plane. It's wonderful to fly the plane. I don't know if we have any pilots in here, but we've all had the experience of flying, I would assume. So you're in the clouds and you have that wonderful vision of moving somewhere, but you're not really feeling it, right? But we need the tower, we need the landing gear, we need the runway, we need a destination. We need the practical things to land the plane. And that's really what we're doing. We're helping land the plane. When we get through the silent or the prep phase, then we're looking at a silent phase where we're really talking to our major donors and getting their help in making this a reality. Now, again, we've gone through COVID-19, so we like very much face-to-face visits with people. And it's just a pleasure to have that opportunity now to be face-to-face. So what we've done, we didn't host a lot of cultivation events simply because we're all Zooming, right? But we as much personal FaceTime as we can get with people, we appreciate. So we're, again, thankful that you're here and that you spread the word about it as well. Then we go into a public phase where we really make it known. We let everybody know what we're up to. The fun thing about this is that we have many sectors. We're looking at the education sector, government, investors, industry partners, high school constituents, university constituents, because again, this is for school, high school, and adult students. So we're excited about that. After the public phase, we really go into a follow-up phase. So we're looking more at direct mail, and phoning nights and things like that. So that kind of gives you an overview of the practical way we conduct this campaign. And I know it's not as inspiring as our former speakers, but this is where the work happens. So thank God for everyone we've got. You want to go on here for a minute? Okay. So what we're looking at now is ongoing partnership development. We're continuing to invite you, and especially with Ranken, we're continuing to invite you to talk to Ranken. We're putting you together to talk about curriculum development, to design it specifically to industry needs. That is a gift that Ranken has and brings to the table. It definitely wants to meet the needs of its clients. So for all of you here, make sure that you understand that this isn't just, we're going to provide something that you don't need. We're going to do our best to tailor it for those with the highest needs. So where we can rank and look at needs in our workforce, we're going to respond to those. And right now we're looking, as you can see with our schematics, we're looking at health and medical, industrial engineering, information tech, and manufacturing. And we've got ongoing appeals, but we also know, you go ahead, we have phase 1 success. I'll show this first.
I'm sorry.
You're okay, go ahead.
Keep going.
Go ahead. We have really, now you can see funds we've raised to date, $7.815 million. So we are within, yeah. And 800,000 of meeting that 8.6 need. And the great thing is that 800,000 includes that will include that state match as well. So that's the word we want to get out. We're not at 3 million need. We're at 800,000 need, which when you look at 8.6, we're almost there. So we're really asking for you to help us get the word out, and your pocketbooks, certainly, and just get us to that 100%. It's really very exciting. Here are the partnerships we have to date. So we're inviting you to join our partnership as an industry, as an individual, as a foundation, as a business. And let's get this done. We're almost there. Okay, questions? Fred will have a few, maybe. Yes, Sarah.
Help, what do they need to do?
Well, we have Luke down from the Mid-Missouri Regional Planning Council as our communications or our communications guy to respond to, but I also have business cards here. So take my business card, contact any of us on the team. Again, we have the case statements back there. We're more than delighted to help you with it. Or even if you have worked with Ranken, let's get, and our Ranken team should stand up. If you, all three of you stand up. John's active, so he's not standing. Yeah, he's going to stand for quite a while, I guess. Okay, so
Two
we're really
questions to
excited.
you, and then we'll go back to the audience here. Thank you, Jane. That was informative. I guess one of the questions I have as you sort of look at putting together a committee, no matter what community you're in, you're generally targeting the busiest people in the community and asking them to do one more thing on behalf of the community. What would you say are the secrets to success? What advice would you give other communities in terms of recruiting that bank president or recruiting somebody who is, probably absolutely overwhelmed with their day-to-day responsibilities as it is, and asking them to push a little harder for the community? What advice would you give them?
Be strong, be persistent. Truly, I think the thing is that what you want is people with vision and commitment for their communities. And honestly, I think we have that. We've got people who care about other people. They want the success of the community. So it isn't necessarily self-aggrandizement whatsoever, but it's people who know each other, who are willing to go out and talk to other people and to advocate with passion for the effort. And I think we've achieved that. So keep going, everybody.
I'll talk a little bit about campaign structure. basically, you've kind of gone through it, but for a smaller community that maybe doesn't have the resources to go out and hire a fundraising expert, what advice would you give in terms of campaign structure? And then maybe talk a little about timeline. What is a reasonable timeline to raise $3 or $4 million?
Structure wise, I think that the biggest thing is just to plan it out. So have the plan and work the plan. Just make sure you're planning every step out and you're seeing the end in mind. So once again, it's great to have the analogy of the plane. Okay, we're going to fly the plane, but how are we going to land it? So have those discussions ahead of time. Put together a planning team that can look at the end and know here's where we're headed. And really the most important thing, Fred, is that this is about serving a need. So what you're really looking at is who's benefiting this? Who are the beneficiaries? So, and Chris, that's exactly what you talked about. We're talking about our students, our adults who want to better their lives. That is the true goal. That's what you're aiming to achieve. So always look at that end of it and put together the team based on those who want to get you there.
So I recall that one of the first things we did was we identified the people in the community who would benefit from having a larger workforce, available workforce, a trained workforce. And then we identified the people who had the financial ability to support something like that. If you had to choose between those two groups of people, which is the easier one to sell?
Well, I think the easiest one to sell, easy being relative, are people who have a passion for the effort. So one of the things that I've learned in my business really is that we all know who has money, right? And everybody lines up to ask that person for money. But that person may not have a passion for what you're doing. So to me, you go to the people who believe in what you're doing because they're the ones who will support it in their heart and in a charitable way and invite others to support it. So it's less about going to those who have the most money and more about going to reaching those who believe in what you're doing.
I want to talk for a minute about community needs assessment and basically how you make the case. And you mentioned we have case statements for the Ashland project, which I know Extension will make available to people participating today. But when you look at the needs assessment for a community, what are the different components of need that you would look at? What are the things that if you're trying to convince people in your community that you need a vocational school or a trade school or any project, where do you start in terms of need?
I'll give this as the example. Really, the example is that we went out to industry and we asked industry, what are your needs? And what we found, we had them rank several factors on how many employees they had, how many openings, how many retirements were coming up, what jobs they needed filled that they were having trouble filling. So we looked at all of those areas and then looked and put those together to determine the needs of the industries themselves. And there are all kinds of industries out there. And what jobs in their particular field were the ones that they needed most, whether their workforce was skilled or not, or needed additional training. So really get down to the nitty-gritty on who's in those positions and what those positions need to succeed within them.
So you mentioned that somehow we've been able to cobble together $7.8 million, and which is a no small feat, especially for a small community. So when you are sitting down across the table from a prospective donor, and asking people for money is tough. Maybe not for you, you're a professional fundraiser, but asking, most of us are very uncomfortable asking people to give money. So what is the most compelling thing you can say to a prospective donor about a cause that maybe tell us about your secret sauce here. What's the one thing that typically will get someone to move towards the yes?
Putting me on the spot here. I think, again, people are going to invite you to sit down and talk with them if they believe in your project. So I'm not going to get in the door to someone who doesn't believe in it. First of all, they're going to more than likely either say no, or during the visit, you understand that they're just being polite, that they'd like to say no, but they're too polite to say no. That rarely happens with someone who believes in what you're doing. So Fred, I know that you've said yes. And you've said yes because you believe in it. You know it's good for the community. You know it's good for your family members. You have an investment in what you're doing. And I think that it's a very positive conversation. Also, what I found is that asking someone to support something you believe in, if I believe in it, others will believe in it. And I want to talk to those others. If there's no investment, a personal investment in it, for whatever reason, then we're all wasting our time. So I think it is just getting in front of the right people. Truly. And not to be afraid of asking. You're asking for support for the good of the organization, not yourself.
I'll make it very clear that I said yes, so Bill Lloyd would stop calling me. So, so we all give for different reasons, I guess. So, any other questions from the audience for Jane Rutter? Yes, sir, in the back.
Local corporations, have you talked to them and what needs they need, and you have buying?
Great question. I'll repeat it for the folks watching online. The question is regarding local corporations and have they been approached asking for support and finding out what they need?
We do have many local corporations and foundations who are supporting the project. And the benefit of where I work is that we actually have a full grant writing team. So they research corporations and foundations that would have an interest in this. And then we are approaching them as well. So that is an excellent question. And yes, we are looking in that avenue. And if you know of any more, let us know. Thank you.
If you have the luxury of working with a professional fundraiser, I will tell you that the Steyer Group was very good about, they have some kind of super secret patented list that is sort of a wealth indicator that kind of addresses sort of a company or an individual's capacity to give. And so we were able to sort of kind of run that up against what our own instincts were about the type of money we could ask for from a donor. And so that's one of the benefits of working with a professional fundraiser. Any other questions of Jane Rutter? Yes, sir.
So a lot of donors in the room today, also a lot of banks. Has been any discussion about taking out a loan for this project if we can't raise the remaining funds?
All right, very good. So the question is from the gentleman who led the efforts to raise money for this building. So he certainly knows what he's talking about. But the question is about the banks in a local community. Has there been an effort to go to those banks and ask them to collaborate, to partner on a loan? And so I'm going to pass it off to Jane, and then you're going to pass it off to Chris. Okay, here's Chris Filmley, Superintendent of Schools.
Kip, to answer your question, yes, we are in the phases of doing that. We will need a line of credit to pay the bills, day-to-day operations. Fortunately, we have grants, but those grants are paid after you've made the expense. And so we will secure a line of credit and go from there.
But we fully intend to hit goal or surpass it.
I will say, just as kind of as a side thought, banks have been by far our largest supporter. We have 8 or 9 banks in the community in the Mid-Missouri area who have already stepped up and made signature gifts. And you know, banks sometimes tend to be very competitive when they're competing for your business, but they also tend to be competitive with generosity. And so we have been very blessed by a group of very civic-minded banks who have stepped forward and have written checks in order to help us achieve this goal. I think they understand that creating a vocational education opportunity in our community is good for business. And as businesses prosper, so do banks. But they really have had a very philanthropic approach to supporting this project in our community. Any other questions? All right, we are running a little ahead of schedule, and we hope to keep it that way. We're going to take a 10-minute break, and so for those of you listening or watching online,